Tobago Talk, we listen. The political leader of the IDA, Dr. DENISE TSOIAFATT Angus, joins me on the Zoom line. Of course, we know that Budget Day is Monday. Many will be looking on, especially Tobago, as to what will be the allocation. When we look at last year's allocation under a different administration, we found ourselves at $2.599 billion. I would imagine with the Chief Secretary's relationship, well, it seems to be way more cordial with this new administration compared to the last. I anticipate Tobago, I mean, as we say in local parlance, Tobago should get blessed up way better than what we saw last year, because I'm looking even more so at what happened where in June 23rd, your Secretary of Finance, Trade and Economy, Petalan Roberts, would have requested a certain amount, and she would have made mention of the expenditure with about $1 billion being put aside for development in Tobago. So we'll treat with that lastly. Let's talk firstly on the budget, the allocation from last year. And do you anticipate there might be a greater allocation stepping into the Tobago space based on the current dynamic and relationship of the Chief Secretary and the current administration? And as always, great to see you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to your listening and viewing audience. You know, the Prime Minister and her cabinet would be between a rock and a hard place, because we know the challenges within the country right now in terms of our, the Prime Minister already said she's running a deficit budget. So there are challenges there, and yes, there is a relationship between what appears to be a better relationship between the Prime Minister and the Chief Secretary. And so we are left to see whether that pans out into something greater, if something greater can be afforded to be given at this time.
Indeed. And to the second point I made in my opening there, so 3.71 was the request, that's billion, from the Secretary of Finance, Trade and Economy. 2.71 would have been recurrent expenditure, and we know lots of the budget for Tobago is to deal and to treat with people in THE and the staff really and truly, all right? But I'm seeing about $1 billion put aside for development. Have you seen any kind of development? Do you anticipate that $1 billion could bring much needed development to this style Tobago?
I am happy that you put forward that a large part of the budget is really about paying staff in the THA, and we know that this is an election year, so we wait to see how that part is playing out inside of the budget, whether they will have an election budget to deal with. But additionally, you talk about the development, and when the THA came out with that as part of their first debate to send down, I asked, what development are you referring to? If you can't lay out for the people of Tobago the pillars that you're working within, pillars that you know will gain us some traction, then what exactly are you laying out? Development is not just about putting up buildings. Development is about investing on programs where you can get your returns on investment. And I have not seen sufficiently where they have been able to demonstrate their understanding of that concept, and that, $1 billion, they're probably looking to put it into roads, infrastructure, that sort of stuff. And we have to move past that. That is not getting us what we need to have right now. When you look at it, the tourism sector has failed. It continues to fail. Tobago has to look at a different type of tourism model. We have to look at more of a long-stay tourism model, or a tourism model that deals with the export of professional services, such that you bring people to the island that ends up in a long-stay situation. And that is what you need right now. Additionally, this cannot be in isolation of national policies. It is time that the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the government in Tobago understand that we have to work hand in hand to create national policies for diversification that includes Tobago's voice from the start. That you don't just sit in a vacuum, create policies, and then say, okay, those are the policies over there. They have to sit together and create national policies. And to give an example, if we're talking about long-stay tourism, then we have to look at our immigration laws to be able to deal with that. What is the government's policy to facilitate long-stay tourism? We have an airport coming. What is the policy that would facilitate programs that would attract people to the destination? Because people are not coming to the destination just to see a new airport in Tobago. So we have to have key policies that would assist Tobago in its development thrust going forward.
There are many who suggested Tobago could be a great destination for digital nomads, and they were making, that particular, putting that in the domain, the public domain, and putting it out there. And I guess the question is, if indeed that's the case, is there the capacity in terms of connectivity? Could you see that as something viable in the immediate future if indeed, we free up as you rightfully said, the immigration, the coming in, make the process easy? Is that even something possible?
Absolutely, and you now have to also work with your connectivity partners to ensure that that is something that is made available for Tobago. You have to work with WASA, because you can't be having digital nomads here and for a week and a month you can't get water. They have to be toting water just like people are doing in Tobago right now. So you understand when I say the policies have to match and be rolled out to accommodate the thrust in Tobago, knowing fully well that when Tobago wins, Trinidad and Tobago will win, because it means that you're now acknowledging that you have to re-emphasize, move away a bit from the oil and gas industry that has become quite unpredictable, and look at Tobago as one of the pillars that would be poised to make a significant contribution to the GDP and to the diversification efforts of the country.
So this 2.599 billion that was allocated last year and the billions that went before, have you seen any major change, any shifting of the needle in Tobago in the last probably 4 or 5 years? And more so, after you treat with that question, what do you think is the appropriate figure to really take Tobago to the next level? So let's treat with the first question. Any development in the last couple of years based on the billions given to Tobago?
No.
Nothing at all? There's no building, no kind of infrastructure you could speak to?
Again, we go back to buildings as development. So yes, there's been a roundabout built. Yeah, but when you're looking at development, you also have to look at the statistics of development, which would be your indicator of your GDP per capita.
So you're looking at human capital, the development of the people.
Of course, because it doesn't make sense that you have highways and buildings and the people are starving, which is what is occurring right now in Tobago. When people go to the grocery, they can buy much less with the money that they have. A lot more persons are on the breadline now than they were before, a number of years ago. And these are the statistics that even this administration has put out as part of their budget. And so, there has been a significant decrease, yes, in the country, a 23% decline. But in Tobago, there's also been a significant decline in our economic viability on the island. And therefore, if you're looking at development, we are worse off than we have been in the past.
And in terms of the second question, what do you think will be the appropriate figure to really move the needle to ensure there is development of human capital, but also development of the island? Because I've heard, other than the water woes, I'm hearing, I saw firsthand a couple months ago, I know Tobago Road used to be smooth. Dr. TSOIAFATT Angus, I seen some potholes there. I'm saying I should bring to get something and pave to Tobago. I was taken aback with the condition of some parts of the road. I mean, I don't know the entire island. What's the condition, let's say, down Charlottesville and on the other coast, but at least in that main stretch there heading to Scarborough. Some potholes there caught me by surprise.
And that is also the second challenge that we're having: access and transportation for people to do and to do work with ease, to get to work, to get to their businesses. And even I have had to change tires frequently over the past 4 years because the potholes are there. They're sufficiently large. You can barely see them, especially in poorly lit areas. You're dropping into them in the middle of the night, and by morning your tire is gone. So we do have that challenge where your actual maintenance program was also not dealt with. We do see some rushing to pave roads right now as part of the old style politics again. You know, people clamored for change with this new administration, but what we clearly seen is that we got an exchange. The same type of, eve of an election, you rush and pave a road. It's the same sort of thing that we are seeing now, and we have to begin operating differently. Even in Trinidad, the same thing occurs at that level. And we have to start approaching our budgeting process differently to get a different result. If I were the Prime Minister, I would ensure that the budgeting is not just done in an isolated type of silo arrangement, but that you have a parliamentary call for people to come in, just like your Joint Select Committee, for people to come in, lay their case as to how they think the country should develop, what things they expect to see, and therefore be able to put all of that together and let us develop the country together as a people, not in a silo as, a central government there doing everything and then you just bring it, and because you have the majority, you go with it. And it's the same thing happening in Tobago. There was no meaningful consultation with the people of Tobago, and I'm not just talking about sectors, I'm talking about communities, what the people in communities want to see for their communities. What expectation can they have? What portion of the budget can they see that will be allocated for the development within their communities? Development in such a way that can bring them returns on investment in their communities.
Well, Dr. Denise TSOIAFATT Angus, I want to thank you as always for giving us some perspective. I mean, many in Trinidad, we really don't know of the perils. Many who will come to the Sister Isle for a weekend will see, I guess, the flash and the nice living, and most actually in Trinidad think that Tobago, everybody in Tobago is on a level. So to hear of these trying times, it's alarming to many. But I want to thank you for bringing some clarity, and let's have a post-budget discussion after they crunch the figures, and see if we can make it work.
Thank you. Yeah. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, all the best. That's right. Definitely budget around the corner, and lots of discussion as mentioned. Next Monday from the time I start from 6 a.m. right down to Ryan Be True at 7:30. It's going to be an entire day of budget coverage on the 13th. God spare. Up next, Dr. Catherine Minto-Bain, award-winning Dr. Catherine Minto-Bain, yes, the medical director of the TTIVF. She